like the off season, man. Off season, the Wire to Wire Sports
Ooh.
Podcast. Couple weeks in a row, we're a little bit late. There's no football. I changed my name. I'm Mr. Brackets. NCAA is coming up. I'm Mr. Brackets. I'm winning the bracket this year, gentlemen. It's happening. I'm Mr. Brackets, Gene Walzak. And to my upper left corner, I got the man that runs the ones and twos, the graphic designer himself, Cottrell Simpson, College Cottrell. But we're going to change his name because he hasn't won a bracket or won an NCAA Bowl Mania since, I don't know, the Reagan administration. So,
Hey, I picked the champion, so you can't say that. So
that's fair.
Got Baylor.
Georgia. In my upper right corner, Scholastic Shally lives up to his name. He lives up to his name. He wins Bowl Mania. He wins shit like that. I'm kidding. What's up, Uncle Shally? How you feeling?
Hanging in, bro. I'm a little sad. It's first show in forever. We have no football.
I'm not sad. I'm just like I'm intrigued to move on.
Yeah, I mean, baseball's right around the corner. And I love me some baseball, but March Madness will be here before you know it, which we all love. But still, it's always a little bit of a somber first show after football.
Yo, Russell Westbrook's checking in. Russell Westbrook, how you feeling? What's popping? We got a fun show to talk about tonight. We got a lot to get into. And honestly, we get to take a little bit more time and have a little bit more debate on topics as we don't have like 700 topics this week. We're going to have to come up with a new bracket. I hear a new bracket coming. That's what I hear.
Facts.
Trivia contest coming Saturday with Sports Empire Network. There's rumors that Freddie might be leaving the saddle. There might be someone taking his place. I don't know who that might be, but we'll find out shortly.
Ringer in the hole?
I mean, it depends what sport we're talking about. But yes, ringer in the hole.
True.
We'll say that. We got an NBA All-Star weekend, so we got an All-Star show for you. But hopefully we don't disappoint like the NBA All-Star game does. I'm not kidding when I tell you that was the worst basketball game I've ever watched in my entire life. Mike Malone was a man at my heart after that game. It was the worst basketball game I've ever watched in my life. It was awful. And I'm going to say some things that's going to make Cottrell mad tonight. And I know it because I love Cottrell, but I can read him like a book. I'm going to make him mad tonight.
I mean,
Cottrell, what did you think of the All-Star game? We'll get into All-Star weekend in a minute. But what did you think of the All-Star game?
So the game definitely sucked. I did like the draft element of it, where they, had everybody on stage and picked them out like it was like a schoolyard kind of draft thing. I did enjoy that, but then literally right after that, everything else went downhill from there. Giannis got the first bucket of the game, went out immediately, and we didn't see him the rest of the way. There was obviously it's an all-star game. Defense isn't going to be played, but you would hope towards the end that they would have the intensity get a little bit higher there. And I mean, we saw even in that game, like, Team Giannis, they were heavily, far out in front there towards the end, but Team LeBron, they were making a small comeback. Team Giannis was jacking up these threes, trying to get the flashy win, and the game got within 6 points, and Team LeBron still didn't play any defense. They didn't care about the last possession. Like it was really a joke. I was fully on board with the All-Star game and them switching over to this new format. Like I think the past few years we've seen better games because of it. Like it seemed like the stars were going hard, but this year there was absolutely none of that. It was very disappointing. I was kind of expecting it, but it was also very disappointing.
Bill, what did you think of the All-Star game itself? We'll get into the rest of the festivities in a minute, but the All-Star game.
I think the game itself was embarrassing, if I'm being honest. I mean, to Cottrell's point, I think it's kind of like the hockey game. Like we expect to go in and not see, physical, tough defense, stuff like that played. You at least have to go out and fake it and, give me some kind of effort though. I think the crazy part about the game is it was such a disappointing ending to up until that point had been one of the better All-Star weekends that I can remember in recent memory. So I think to have the dud at the very end when it's supposed to be the exciting part, I think that makes it even more disappointing. I agree with Cottrell as well. I thought he put it the schoolyard draft. I thought that was great. I had enjoyed them kind of picking live on TV, the last couple of weeks, but I think actually being there in person and watching them pick that way, I did enjoy that. I thought that was fun. It was something different. I thought they nailed that. The game was just embarrassing now, man. I mean, and you've had players like at the end of the game were like, like what are we doing? Like at this point, like I'd rather take the 3 days off and stay at home with my family. Like somebody called it a glorified layup line. I can't remember who said that. Like, if you're getting your players to start saying things like that publicly, you can kind of tell they're at the end of the rope with it, and it's getting something that maybe doesn't need to happen. This is very reminiscent of what you saw 5 or 6 years ago with the NFL, and now look where we are. And then you look at the ratings that it did, and lowest rated All-Star game ever, and it was well below even this year's Pro Bowl, which continues to sink year after year. So the fans aren't into it either. And you look at the slam dunk, the 3-point contest, and the futures games, they all outdrew the actual game. More people were invested at that than they were the actual game. So I think the writing's kind of you're starting to see the writing on the wall with this. So I'll be curious to see what happens in the next couple of years and see if the NBA can figure out a way to kind of redesign it or, some kind of different, setup or fixture or something. But embarrassing is the word that comes to mind. It's the first thing for me. I just thought it was disappointing and embarrassing.
I got three strong statements I'm about to make. 3 of them. First one, I don't come to you with a problem unless I have a solution. I have 2 solutions. 2 solutions that could really help the NBA All-Star game. Number 1, it's becoming a worldwide game. It's been a worldwide game. You have stars that are from outside the United States. Why not have a USA versus the world? That would create teams that were stacked on both ends. There's enough outside the United States talent. Just looking at this year, you would have SGA, Luka, Jokic, Embiid. You'd have tons of, and then for the Americans, you got LeBron, Steph, KD. I'm talking for the world, you got Giannis. It could create like a rivalry. And I know that a lot of the players that are playing against the United States will have a little bit more razz, a little bit more wanting to beat them. And I don't think the American players will take very lightly to that. And I'll give you a point in a second. We all watched the Rising Stars game. And I'll tell you right now, Team Joe Kim, was it Joe Kim Noah that went against the G League Stars?
Oh, G League, yeah.
They knew, like, we're NBA players. You're not coming in here and showing us up. And for the first, until Mac McClung went off, they looked great, right? They looked like they were going to compete. There's something about testing someone's pride. And I think a USA versus the world, playing for the name on your jersey, might create a little bit more competition. And if that doesn't work, we have another option. Go back to East versus West, forget and steal the Major League Baseball's idea. The team that wins gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Let that be the decider. I believe that could help the game, make it competitive, but this isn't working. And I have a person that I blame for it. I blame one man. I blame LeBron James on why the NBA All-Star game has tanked throughout the years. And Kachar, you knew I was going there, right?
I did. Stephen A.
Did Stephen A say this too?
He did. Well, he blamed him for the dunk contest, but
I don't listen to him, but he sounds like he's spot on, right? I blame LeBron James. I think that when you look at the game in the 2000s, right, everybody, even when Kobe played, the competition was there. People stepped on the court and they wanted to compete. I will take you back to an All-Star game. I believe it was 2011 or 12. I could be wrong here. Don't hold me to it. Remember when Kobe Bryant was trying to man up with LeBron James, smacked the court to defend him, like let's go, and LeBron took a fall away jumper to not like go at Kobe Bryant when they were going down the stretch, and he was trying to get that one-on-one matchup, and LeBron switched off of him. I remember that. I remember it. I think that in the NBA, I want to watch the best players compete against the best players. It has the ability to be the best All-Star game. 100% does. And I'll be honest with you, Bill, can I ask you a random question? You're a little older.
Sure.
Couple days older than me, maybe.
Just a smidge.
The 2000s All-Star game, the 1997 All-Star game, how much competition was in those All-Star games? How much did those players go at each other?
It's those games back then are if you just say the words All-Star game to somebody, it's what you think it's going to be. It's going to be a normal game, but with just all the best players. And that's what an All-Star game should be. You know, I loved your East versus West thing because back then, if you ever watch any of the old NBA films, they always have like the behind the scenes stuff, and you saw it a little bit with the Michael Jordan Last Dance thing. You know, Michael and Larry and Michael and Isaiah, I mean, we all know about that relationship. They didn't really get along great off the court, but come All-Star night, they all got along well because they were like, we're not going to go out there and let Magic and all those guys beat us. Like, we're going to win. Just like you said, like how Kobe was. I'm not going to lay this all at the feet of LeBron. I mean, I think this has been coming for, this is a long time coming, but I know we are getting at with that. But those games back then were like, okay, we're going to get rid of all of, like the guys that are fillers on all these teams. And I just want the best 15 guys on each side. And we're going to play a normal, real 5-on-5 basketball game. And that's what an all-star game should be. And those games back then were great. They were great. They were physical. They were heated. They were contentious. I mean, that's back when the dunk contest mattered almost more than the game. I mean, you guys, killing each other to try to get into that. That's what I think the NBA's got to get back to. They got to get their way. They got to find their way back to those roots and because to your point, if you're gonna sign me up to see, Giannis and Durant and or East West, however you want to break it down, but they're actually going to play like it's so I'm watching Team USA play Team USA in the Olympics. Like, yeah, like I'll watch that 7 nights a week. That's the best basketball you're ever going to see. But they all have to decide to do that, and I don't know if you're going to get that.
Well, take it a step further. Control, I'm going to go right to you. Take it a step further. When you say watching the best people play basketball, I don't care if you give them 2 weeks off, which they essentially did. They gave them a week and a half off in between games.
Yeah, they
give them a longer rest. Everything the players have wanted, and I can't use this line. I want to use the line, but I won't use the line. Ever since they started allowing the players to dictate everything in the league has become worse and worse for a visual sense to people that watch the game. Anthony Edwards said it recently, talking about load management, just play. You look at how many people take games off to rest. You never know what you're getting when players show up. And I'll be honest with you, man. It has become a very tough product to watch. Even regular season, I used to always stay up and like watch the 10-15 TNT TBS game. And I find myself doing that less and less. I watch a lot more college basketball at this point because I'm getting less and less enthralled with teams that are just coasting throughout the regular season and only caring about making it to the playoffs and playing hard then. And that basketball is incredible, watching playoff basketball. But even then, if a team gets up 15 to 17 points at the end of the third quarter, the one team rest everybody, like, oh, we'll come back next game, and they quit. They quit in the game because you gotta be ready to go. You can't spend all your energy trying to come back from 15-17 down. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And the NBA is a great sport, but LeBron James,
I disagree with that.
Okay, so what LeBron James did, and I'm going right to you after this. What LeBron James did is they created everybody's friends. We all work together. We're all friendly, and everybody's, we have the same agents, and we take vacations together. Man, I miss basketball when Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning were going at each other in a 1-8 matchup where they were fist fighting on the court. What's the biggest rivalry in basketball, Cottrell? What teams hate each other? Like, what games do you walk into and you're like, man, I can't wait. There's going to be like Eagles Cowboys, right? We talk about mimic the NFL. Eagles Cowboys. Give me a rivalry that looks anything like Bears Lions.
None of them are like that anymore. A lot of that though is also because of people switching teams, getting traded, things like that. Like, you got a lot of people who aren't on the same team, so those rivalries don't necessarily brew up. You'll have players have rivalries with certain teams, but you won't see the true rivalries. Like, we're starting to see it with Memphis and the Warriors, but it's nothing crazy yet. The Grizzlies haven't done enough to be, considered that legit rival. I would say Joel and the Sixers are starting to kind of get that, because Joel is how he is on Twitter, talks about certain people and things like that. So Joel, and we were starting to get it with the Nets, but now KD's gone and James Harden is obviously in Philly, but Joel was going at Ben. Joel, clearly you guys don't like the Celtics outside of just, the new age Celtics. It's always a Philly Boston thing when it comes to the NBA. And you guys have matched up.
Kyle, you're in the chat right now. Do you care about the Sixers at all? Just Philadelphia hates Boston because Boston kicks our ass all the time.
Yeah, it's more of a city thing. It's not even a. I mean, you look at the old Sixers when the Sixers in Boston used to battle every year in the Eastern Conference Finals to go play the Lakers. That's what we need to get back to. Like, and I agree with Gene on this. There isn't. There's no game that's going to come on that I'm going to sit there and be like, oh, I have to watch this. Like, like the old, like he said, Knicks Heat back then, Sixers, Celtics back in the day. There's nothing like that anymore. There's not. And some of that, Cottrell's not wrong. Some of that is the free agency. You don't have these guys that sit somewhere in a city for the most part for 10 years to where they're going to build that rivalry up and it's going to keep going. And it gets, there's all this contentious, heat between the two teams. They know nobody stays put long enough for that to happen. But G brought up a really good point earlier about the 10-15. I've mentioned it numerous times. That's how I became a fan of Steph. I would come home from wherever I was, softball, whatever have it. And, Golden State would be playing like Sacramento or Phoenix or whatever, 10-15, especially at the old, at Golden State's old, at the Oracle. That place was loud as hell on TV. And I would sit there and just watch it. It was can't miss TV. You couldn't not watch it. And now you'll turn on the 10-15 home game, and I'll sit there and watch the starting lineups. Oh, Clay's not playing. Steph's not playing. I'm not even watching this. Like, I'm going to go watch something else.
Yeah.
I thought Anthony Edwards. I thought that showed his quote for me was spot on. I think it showed a lot of wisdom and really showed a real grasp of the issue. Some of these teams go to the cities once a year, man. And if you have a little kid, and you're working in a middle class family, you might only be able to go to one game a year. If you're saving up to take your kid to go see Steph, and I'm not picking on Steph because he does play more than a lot of the other guys, but you're waiting for Golden State to come to town and they come in and he's not playing, like, that sucks, man. It just sucks. And if guys are hurt, I get it. But there's so many guys. I mean, Kawhi hasn't even been hurt this year. He's on pace to play like 55 games. Like, that's nuts.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I can't wait till LeBron James retires. And Cottrell might hate this comment, but I'm gonna say it right now. I think the teams that when the team starts switching up the way they did, had everything to do with what LeBron did going to the decision. And I know that the Boston Celtics did it first by getting Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, but the rivalry between the Cavs and the Boston Celtics was fun. It was just they hated each other. Garnett and Pierce would be talking, and I mean this when I say this. I think LeBron started a lot of the downfall of the NBA. And you're talking about the second greatest player ever to play the game. And I think that a lot of things, he didn't do the dunk contest. He made the All-Star game a joke. He made teaming up cool, switching teams, superstars, switching teams. Like, I'm serious when I say this. Give me other superstars that really did it before LeBron. Any of them. Kobe stayed in LA his whole career. Michael stayed in Chicago his whole career. Patrick Ewing stayed for the New York Knicks his entire career. Malone and Stockton did it at the end. Malone did some stupid crap playing with the Lakers for like a season, but that's not a superstar in his prime switching his team. LeBron was the first one to do it. First to do it.
I mean, if you want to go by free agency, then yeah. But I mean, I don't know what you wanted him to do. Like, the Boston Celtics created this super team, and he was just supposed to stick in Cleveland and try to ride it out with Drew Gooden and Mo Williams. Like, I just don't know how feasible that is. For me, I did hate the decision and all that. So if you want to be on him for that, I'm 100% with you. But him moving on to a better circumstance where he could actually get teammates that could help him win championships, I don't know how you can necessarily fault him for that. Saying he's the first one to do it, I also think is a little strange, just because we literally saw with the Celtics. I understand it was trades that brought them there, but you got to remember that Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett both had no trade clauses, so they really got to handpick where they went. So it's really the same premise as going through free agency, because you could say yes to certain teams and no to others. So, I mean, I disagree with you on that. I don't know how we even got here, though, from talking about the All-Star game.
Because I think LeBron ruined the All-Star game, and I think that LeBron ruined a lot of things
because he's friends with people.
I just think yes, that's the answer. Yes, I think rivalries in the NBA are severely missed. I think that the most tuned in regular season game of the entire year was last year? Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia. It was the most tuned in basketball game throughout the entire country. You want to know why? Because the teams hated each other. And Ben didn't even play. He just sat on the bench. It was the most tuned in game the entire year. How does that happen?
I mean, I hear it, but I don't know.
Rivalries matter, man. Did you hear about, by the way, I know this is a little bit off topic, but we're all talking basketball. Did you hear about this Bradley Beal story that came out? Did you guys hear about the story that came out with Bradley Beal and Ben Simmons?
No.
So apparently the Ben Simmons downfall is all attributed back to the Sixers-Wizards series in the 1-8 matchup before we played the Hawks, before the missed dunk. And the Wizards were playing Hack-a-Ben.
Oh, I did read this today. Go ahead.
And they were playing Hack-a-Ben, and Ben got mad, and he looked right at Bradley Beal, and he goes, I'm sick of you effing failing me on purpose. I'm going to knock these 2 free throws down. Knock it all. I'll bet $5K on it. And Beal looked at him and goes, you want to bet 20? You want to bet 20? And Ben didn't say anything and bricked the first free throw. And Beal said he didn't say another word after the game. Not another word the rest of the series. That, I don't know, man. I just love rivalries in basketball. I loved watching NBA teams hate each other. And LeBron did well with that, right? LeBron did well with that. The Cavs and the Celtics hated each other. Hated each other. Even the Heat and the Celtics. And I like the Heat, the Celtics, before Ray Allen chose to jump ship from Boston to go down to Miami, which was so annoying to me. Like, that's and I loved Ray Allen, but I ultimately agreed with Rondo, Pierce, and Garnett kind of shunning him and being like, you went to the enemy, bro. And then KD's soft ass followed suit. I'm gonna go play with Golden State.
That's completely different. If LeBron was up 3-1 on Boston with his crew, then I would understand your point. But Kevin Durant winning the MVP award and then going to a team that was 73-9 and up 3-1 in the championship is completely different to me. But to each his own.
I don't think it's I don't think Gene's saying it's the same thing per se, but it's the fact that LeBron did what he did, which set the precedent, which me like I kind of agree with Gene. I think if LeBron doesn't do that, I don't know if KD ever does that. I think that's the point. He made it okay to do it. That was the precedent now. He went down to Miami to join the super team. So who is anybody to give me crap for going to Golden State to try to win a ring and be like everybody else?
So again, though, my question is: was LeBron just supposed to stay in Cleveland his whole career and just be beaten by better teams?
To be fair here, like they would have put a team around him eventually, and then on top of that, like
what makes you think so? He was there for 8 years.
Well, yeah, they were in a ton of trouble before that. Like they weren't going to be that bad forever. Like as soon as he left, they started getting players. Like,
but yeah, because they were in the lottery. You're right.
Kyrie. My point is, it's Gene kind of nailed the head. Like he made it cool. Like he made it cool to do it. Like it was okay. Like, and it's, my problem with it is you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't leave those people high and dry. Go to Miami, go wherever, then come back and win one, and then be like, "Oh man, I did this for Cleveland." Like, you can't have it both ways. Like if you would have done it for Cleveland, you never should have left. Well, I mean, he did. He gets away with it because he is who he is. I'll state the obvious that is bullshit, but it's
not though. So if LeBron was on a team with the Cavs for 7 years, they go to the finals in year 4, and the best player they bring back is Mo Williams. Like, what if you're in that situation? Why would you say, "Oh, I think I'm going to keep playing it cool, and I'm going to wait for them to bring in the superstar"? Like they haven't done it in 7 years, but I know it's coming. Like in my mind, what will make me think that?
I think that a lot of, and I said this before, and I think we're going too far off the beaten path, and I blame myself for that. But I think a lot of the issue that I had with LeBron was a lot of those players that they signed, a lot of those contracts that they signed were LeBron's doing. It was like, yeah, I want JJ Hickson here. He's my guy. And then they signed him to a ridiculous contract that makes no sense. Like they were all trying to appease LeBron in the moment. And in reality, it's just
not true.
It is
LeBron.
true.
LeBron wanted Amari Stoudemire in 2009, and the Cavs front office said we don't want to trade JJ Hickson. So that's not true. It's just what it is.
At the end of the day, I watched LeBron James, and JJ Hickson was on the same agent as him, and he got the huge contract to stay with the Cavs. He got a lot of these mediocre guys paid, Boobie Gibson, and like it's just a lot of them, man. I felt like the Cavs could have did a better job putting somebody around LeBron James. I felt like LeBron James could have did a better job of not playing general manager. But back to All-Star Weekend. I want to talk about All-Star Weekend now. The game was awful. It was pitiful. Let's get off that topic. I actually think All-Star Friday and Saturday night was pretty good. Wasn't
great.
bad.
Should have just ended it Saturday night.
I'll be honest with you, man. I had way more interest in watching a celebrity basketball game than I did watching the All-Star game on Sunday. DK Metcalf, Calvin Johnson, The Miz hitting a half quarter that almost counted.
I would say the celebrity game almost had a freaking crazy ending to it. Missed it by like half a second. Everything was great. I'm telling you, man. It's from the start of Friday night to end of Saturday night. If you're the NBA, you couldn't ask for anything more, honestly. I mean, you could have probably had bigger names in the dunk contest, but even the way that ended up, it still worked out. Like, so Friday night, great. Saturday night, great. Like you just all this momentum going, and then you lay that turd on Sunday night. Like I would have told everybody to go home Saturday night and just, enjoy the city. Even though there's apparently nothing to do there, according to Shaq and Charles Barkley. So,
yo, that hot mic was hilarious.
Blast in the city live on air. It's hilarious.
To add more to it, I really got into the Rising Stars Challenge. I thought that was a lot of fun watching the Rising Stars go back and forth. You could tell the overseas elite, well, not overseas elite. I don't know why I do that. But basically the
The G Leaguers.
The G Leaguers
G-Leaguers.
were battling. I loved Grand Theft Alvarado. Man, you want to talk about a guy that won the weekend. If it wasn't Mac McClung, it was Grand Theft Alvarado. Jose Alvarado was awesome. He was fun. He was playing heavy defense. He was, oh man, hit the game winner. I loved it. I'm a Jose Alvarado fan.
They played like they cared, and that's the difference. Those guys on all those teams wanted to win those games.
I mean, you talk about ways to change the All-Star game. I actually love that format. Obviously, you wanted to have it where it's a full game and things like that. But if the players aren't going to play hard in a real game, why not make it a format where it's you shrink it down a little bit, and you go to a set number like 40 or whatever, and you draft your team. You draft your team of 7, each team or whatever, and play ball. Like I think that did well in that game, and I think that could even be another solution to getting these guys to play and seeing high level basketball with some of the best players in the world.
I'll be honest with you, man. One of my favorites for You Got to Be Kidding Me this week was Jason Tatum for just running up and down the court, scoring as many points as possible when the teams were playing no defense, like breaking the all-star scoring record. Like, it was such a joke. But I think
you blame Jason for that,
because Joel did it too. Joel did it in the sense that, like, these guys were like, I'm going to score because there's no defense being played at all. And they just went in for layups and just easy dunks that weren't like entertaining to watch. What I mean by that was a lot of these guys are pulling off from half court, quarter court. I don't know, man. It bothered me that he kept going in and getting layups and dunks that were, you say it's not Tatum's fault, but
it's not. Tatum shot like 15 threes. He hit like 10. Like, it's not like he was only going for easy layups. I mean, what is he supposed to do? Just let other people shoot? Like, I mean, it's your fault that you're not guarding me.
Yeah. It just was frustrating, man. Why not have a 1v1 and 3v3 tournament?
NBA players would never do that.
Yeah, you know why they wouldn't do it? Because they don't want
to get embarrassed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
There is nobody getting cooked 1v1 on national TV.
And that's the whole reason that LeBron passed off when Kobe wanted to go at him. It's the whole reason. Didn't want to get embarrassed. It's the truth. Watch the All-Star game. Tell me I'm lying.
We're talking about an All-Star game from 12 years ago. That's the reason why the game sucks now. The game was literally fine 2 years ago.
It wasn't fine.
It was. We talked about it last week.
Ended fine.
The Elam ending. Fine. If you say so.
You thought the game was good?
The game was fine. The whole fourth quarter was fine.
Did you just? You can't say both, right?
Sure,
the game was fine. The whole fourth quarter was fine.
It's an all-star game. They're not going to play tough defense for the first half for sure. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Why though? They used to. Why?
They did not play defense in the first half.
When?
Bro,
go watch any All-Star game from 92 to 2004.
Okay,
and you'll find out
this is you got some.
Yo, this dude Peter, is this a LeBron burner account?
What?
Is he a LeBron burner account?
One play and sat down the rest of the game.
My man's
saying they play defense the first half is crazy. I can't believe you just said that. The whole game was just intense in the 90s. Come on, man. Stop it.
Gino seen him. Gino tell you.
I don't think the whole game was intense. I don't think they played full defense the whole game, but they played a lot more defense than what was displayed in the All-Star game.
Once it got later in the game.
No,
but a lot more than now. A lot more than now. Agreed. I agree.
Even in the first half, first quarter, there were times where players would lock up in the All-Star game in the 90s and the early 2000s, where even in the first quarter, they would one-on-one each other. And, like, you would see, like, guys go back and forth one-on-one.
I agree.
I felt like this All-Star game just made me want to throw up. It was like, all right, so let me compare it to you, right? I don't think there's many more Fast and the Furious fans than me. I'm a big Fast and the Furious fan. The NBA All-Star game to me is like what Fast and the Furious turned into after 6, after 5.
5, yeah.
Like, 5 was a little wild. They're dragging a safe around. 6, they got a 16-mile runway on a plane. They're shooting spears out of cars that are like, it's just unrealistic to me, right? And I can't watch 8, 9, and it's just terrible. 8, 9 is awful. And I feel like the NBA All-Star game drifted that way, right? It was like, oh, we don't play a lot of defense. Oh, we don't play. We're only playing a little bit of defense. We don't play any defense.
I think the other part too, especially this year, that made it even worse is that you didn't have some of those stars out there. Steph wasn't out there. KD wasn't out there. Kawhi wasn't out there. KD, like, you know, those guys weren't on the court. Like normally, like we saw Steph 2 years ago drop the 50 ball in Cleveland, and it was somewhat entertaining to watch because of the way that it was happening. Like we didn't even get to see that portion of it. Like, of course, the ending, the Elam ending where people play defense like that of course makes it more entertaining, but we didn't even have the aspect of seeing some of, you know, the best players or the guys who've been considered like some of the best players in the world playing on Sunday. And so I think that's also a big part of it as well.
But I think you did, Gatrell. I think you had the NBA has never had more stars than it has right now.
I mean, I agree with you.
League.
I agree with you there.
Play, Ja Morant took his spot. I'm good. Entertainment level equal.
Ja didn't play many minutes though. Giannis was there. Giannis didn't play many minutes, like, well, any minutes.
One player like 30 didn't seconds. Play, you got other players that took their spot that are superstars. I don't think that's the issue at all. I don't. And by the way, don't bring up street clothes Anthony Davis on this show. Like he deserves to be playing in a damn All-Star game. That man has street clothes on more than he has NBA uniforms on.
But when he's playing, he's a top 15 player in the league.
That's fair. Fair point.
So I'm just saying, like, of the guys who are
he plays one game a week.
Of the guys who are top 10, top 15 players, we were missing about half of them in this game. That's the only point that I was getting at. Like, obviously, you got guys like Anthony Edwards is a great player. Like, it's fine seeing him in an All-Star game, but when you're missing literally you're the cream of the crop, if you will, like you're missing those guys, like it shows up. And then when you get a sorry product like how we got on Sunday, it highlights it even more.
I'm just frustrated because I used to look forward to this game and I turned it off in the middle of the second quarter. And I had somebody tag me and be like, tell me what's the fourth. Maybe they'll be entertaining in the fourth quarter. And they tagged me in the fourth quarter, and I watched the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it was awful there. And even when, like, Team LeBron was starting to make a comeback, they were just letting people shoot from wherever. There was still no defense played. Mike Malone nailed it. Can we talk about Mac McClung, though? Can we talk about returning to Mac? Yo, that man, and you know what the best part about Mac McClung was? He didn't miss one dunk. First shot, nailed it. He did a 540. Like
that he did.
My guy was on fire. It was awesome to watch. I thought that the dunk competition was way more entertaining than I expected it to be. The 3-point contest was pretty good. Dame Lillard hitting basically beating Buddy Hield on the last rack. He destroyed the last rack. That was fun to watch. The skills competition first two, if we're being honest with each other. I hated the skills competition setup. 3 rounds, like we're gonna do this round, and this round. And to watch NBA players struggle to make like bunnies in a competition, it was hilarious to me. Shooting from different, getting different points from different areas of the court. And these NBA players are missing like 3-footers. Like it just was funny to me. What were your thoughts on Saturday night?
Saturday was fun. I will say I was a little disappointed. Obviously, Mac McClung put on the show. I was a little disappointed in KJ. I thought he was gonna have some more for me, but and Jericho Sims he had one of the most boring dunks I've ever seen. The arm in the rim, and he grabbed the 50 off the net, pulled it out, showed everybody it was ripped. You would see videos afterwards of everybody who was in the arena just sitting down still, like no one stood up, no one was hyped. It was just I had secondhand embarrassment watching the replay of it afterwards. I was like, the dunk itself was okay, I guess, but seeing everyone else's reaction was hilarious. But Mac McClung went in, did exactly what I was expecting him to. I mean, the kid's been famous for dunking for 5 years now. So I was fully expecting him to go in there and put on a show. And he already said that he's coming back next year to defend his crown. So I can't wait to see that. Hopefully, him putting on that kind of performance and them seeing what he can do. Hopefully that draws other people in, like, hey, like, let me go try to dethrone this guy. But
Yo,
that
no,
was
it wasn't. No, it wasn't, bro. Stop.
I don't know why people keep saying that. Evan Fournier said the same thing. But what we've considered a 360 for forever is he literally did an extra half a rotation from that. So I don't know how it wouldn't be a 540.
That was closer to a 720 than it was to a 360.
And then not dunk contest, 3-point contest, Dame squeaking out a win over Buddy Hield, making all my predictions come true for those two contests. It was great to watch. And of course, Dame's my guy, so I was rooting for him to win it the whole time, especially after he came out in the Weber State jersey. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, well, that's it for NBA All-Star Weekend. Dud of a Sunday. I mean, honestly, so bad. No, it's not a 360, Kev. I watched his feet. I watched his legs. I watched his body. You watch it again. You're wrong, period. If you want, I can give you education of what rotations look like. God damn, bro. How you going to say a dumb shit like that? It's a 540. All right, so next topic, MLB catchers list. Pitchers and catchers. We did pitchers last week, catchers this week. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. This list sucks. It's very top heavy. This list sucks.
Everybody's top 4 should be the same. Maybe not the right order, the same order, but it should be the same 4 guys.
Look, wire to wire, catchers list, 2023 projections list. Here we go.
Well, Cachor's a little bit different.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, and again, it's. I mean, because being Gene really have the same guy at 5. I mean, it's all the same guys.
Yeah, same guy at 6, same guy at 7.
Yep.
Like, if we're being honest, I think that all right, so you guys go first. You guys both got the New York Yankee, and I get why you have him on there, but he's not going to. There's a projections list. The guy stinks. He's not going to repeat what he did at the end of last year. He fell off at the end of last year anyway. Jose Trevino's awful player. And I get it. You could put anybody at the bottom of this list. You could put Bill and Gatrell and maybe some of the catchers on the bottom of this list.
Well, Gatrell, I'll let you go first.
All right. So
this is blasphemous from Gene.
Yeah, I mean, this list, obviously, we all have different guys down here at the bottom. It's kind of tough when you really break down the list because of, I mean, it's really about what you value and all that. And the other thing too is that the catchers, we said it already, it's more so top heavy. So I mean, I think it's more preference than anything. But seeing what Jose Trevino could do last year, he's going to be in a loaded lineup where he's going to have the ability to have his numbers be elevated and things like that. And seeing his ability, like I saw him go on that hot streak last year. Like, there's nothing in me that makes me think that it's just the fluke. Like, I think he can replicate a lot of it again this year. So I'm going with Jose Trevino as my number 10.
I have Jose Trevino number 10 as well. I think catchers are a unique position in that it's one of the few positions, if not the only one left in the major leagues, that you can get there solely on your defensive capabilities. Jose Trevino is by pretty much all metrics across the board the best over all around defensive catcher in the major leagues. I do agree with Gene. I don't think he's gonna hit to the clip that he hit last year. And he did fall off a lot in the second half. I don't know if it's more of a tired thing. And again, with advanced scouting the way it is in baseball, the scouting reports get back to teams and pitchers even quicker, more so now than they ever have before. But defensively, this kid is a stud. You watch him catch, the way he receives the ball, the way he handles the staff. I think he's a top 10 pitcher. I think he's a top 10 catcher just off his defensive abilities alone. He's the only catcher in the major leagues that had a higher frame rate and more defensive run save than JT Realmuto, who is we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I think he definitely deserves to be on the list. We'll see how his hitting goes this year, but defensively alone gets him on those lists. That's how good he is.
I have Cal Riley on the list just because he's a great defensive catcher. He's the second best. He was the second best catcher in baseball as far as his. Jesus Christ, I can't even read what I wrote. Second on baseball fan graphs. I don't even know what the hell that means. But they said his elite defensive presence. It's the only reason Cal Riley's on this list. Guys, I don't want to be honest. I want to be honest with you, right? I couldn't pick Cal Riley out of her friggin' lineup. Putting this list together was embarrassingly tough. I wouldn't put Jose Trevino on there because I knew how terrible he was down the stretch. Cal Riley, I remember him a little bit in the playoffs for Seattle. That's it. I'll go Tyler Stevenson, number 9. Tyler Stevenson's actually a decent catcher. I think Tyler Stevenson is younger. He'll have hopefully somewhat more of an upward trajectory, a little bit more of a breakout from him. But the 9th best catcher on this list is probably the 38th best outfielder.
Probably lower than that, but
Jesus.
not wrong. I have Tyler Stevenson number 9 as well. Again, up and coming, still a young kid, got a long career ahead of him. Solid behind the dish, shown a little bit of pop offensively, hit for decent average. I think he's going to keep getting better. I don't think he's anywhere near his peak years yet. To Gene's other point, he's playing on an awful team. He's got to get out of Cincinnati, but he was one of the guys that was untouchable for them the last couple of years. They really believe in him. They want him to be part of, the rebuild, not that Cincinnati ever really rebuilds, but, I think they'll drag him along for the next, 4 or 5 years, but he's a very good backstop. He's a very good cornerstone to build around. He's a young kid and we'll see what they do, but I hope eventually he gets out of Cincinnati, but definitely good enough to be on this list.
I'll tell you who's not good. My number 8 stinks too, but good.
You want to talk about having a bad year and falling apart coming down the stretch.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So my number 9, and I'm not gonna lump these guys together, but my number 9 is Mike Zunino, the newest addition to the Cleveland Guardians. Last year, had a bad year in Tampa Bay last year, very injury riddled. So ended the season early. He was done by the middle of summer. And he's going to come to Cleveland and he's going to be healthy. I saw what he could do in 2021 with the power numbers. I think him coming to Cleveland, he'll have Tito managing him. Tito's going to put him in great spots. We'll see him hit 25 home runs in Cleveland down at Progressive Field. So I think Mike Zunino is going to get back to true form here. And that's why he's number 9 for me. Number 8, guy that you both have mentioned already, Tyler Stevenson, also had his injury battles last season. But the kid's young, and I fully expect him to be better this upcoming year. Again, I saw what he could do in 2021, and like you said, Bill, this guy literally for Cincinnati, they were selling everybody. Tyler Stevenson was one name that they absolutely would not get rid of. So I think he's gonna come in and be fully healthy. Everything that I've seen said he's been perfectly healthy since December. So I think he'll be ready to go and have a great season.
So number 8, I have one of the catchers of the interesting timeshare and the wealth of riches that Toronto shares right now in the catching position, Danny Jansen. Out of the two, I'm not going to talk about Alejandro Kirk yet, but Danny Jansen's probably the better hitter. They have a very interesting situation. It's going to be a timeshare. I think they're going to catch some. They're going to DH, but they have 2 great catchers. Again, a younger guy. Has a ton of potential, has a good skill set that he can continue to grow in if he continues to progress. Again, it's just a very I don't want to say difficult. It's not a very ideal situation for catchers because catchers are kind of like quarterbacks in the sense that they always want to play. They want their day off for like their Sunday day games and stuff like that. But catchers would rather catch 140 games versus catching 80 games. That sounds a little crazy, with the wear and tear catchers go through, but They like to be in a routine. They like to get hot and get in a rhythm and play. So I will be curious to see how that works out for Toronto this year. But Danny Jansen, again, ton of potential. I think he has a good year this year. I think he continues to move up this list. So I have him at number 8 this year.
My number 8 and number 7, you can kind of group together, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They're both old catchers that I'm hoping they can have a better 2021 than they did 2022. Yasmani Grandal last year was brutal. He was terrible. I don't even know why he's on my list. He's on my list because we're doing a catcher's list. If we're being honest with ourselves, I'm just hoping he goes back to hitting 20 home runs like he did for 5 out of his last 7 years. That's it. It's my only thought process. He's not a good defensive catcher. He bats 203. He's 34 years old. I don't know. He stinks. If we're being honest, he stinks. It's my number 8. My number 7 is Salvatore Perez. Now, he didn't have much of a drop-off as he did. And he had a huge drop-off, but didn't have as much of a drop-off as Yasmani Grandal. But Salvatore Perez came off a 48 home run season in 2021 and fell all the way back to 23. I hope Sal gets a little around 30 home runs this year and gets back on high horse and does his number 7, because once again, this is another catcher. And once again, you can group these two together. Both of them aren't good defensively anymore. Like Salvador Perez used to be good defensively. He's not good anymore defensively. I don't know. We'll get into PD's comment in a minute, but he's wrong.
So number 7, I have Salvador Perez as well. PD, you're right. I think it is. I mean, listen, Gene's pulling the curtain back here, so I mean, I'm not going to hold back either. Salvador Perez has never been confused with a good defensive catcher ever. So, but the dude can mash, man. The dude can rake earlier in his career. I believe, if I remember this correctly, Gene, you had him pretty high last year. And I remember that was the one thing, not that I criticized, but the one thing I didn't think he was going to put up 40 plus again last year like he did it 2 years ago. But I do agree. I think he took a bigger dip than probably what he really is at this point. I think he hits between 25 and 30 this year. Dude's still a guy you want to have in your lineup. He's still going to produce more runs than he gives up. Even though that number is probably shrinking rapidly. But again, pretty much any major league team except for 2 or 3 will take 25 home runs out of the catcher position all day, every day, twice on Sunday. So I think Salvador Perez bounces back a little bit this year. A little bit better offensively. Again, he's not going to be good defensively, but he still makes this list. So number 7 for me.
My number 7 is guy both of you just talked about, Salvador Perez. Really not much more to get into it. I mean, you guys hit everything. He's here because he hits, and because the people who we have beneath them, we know that their numbers they don't have the potential to get like their numbers higher than what Salvador's are going to be if he plays all season. So you get 25 home runs and you're 100% in the top 10 here, and that's why Salvador is a 7 for me. My number 6, Wilson Contreras. I think him going over to St. Louis, getting a fresh start, I think will pay dividends for him. Obviously, he's been perfectly fine in Chicago, but I'm fully expecting him to go over to St. Louis and pick up right where he left off. He had a decent season last year. He had over 20 home runs, decent average. So I think he's going to go to St. Louis and be perfectly fine.
I will also Contreras number 6 as well. I think I don't want to say it's the knock, but the one thing you always hear about him is, his kind of his mental lapses, where his head is sometimes. Physical attributes, has all the gifts in the world. Great arm. He can make the flashy play, the flashy throw. But then sometimes, 2 pitches later, he'll drop or have a pass ball, which is something, any average catcher should handle. Good power out of the catcher position. None of these guys are really going to hit for average, but he's a 250 plus hitter usually when he's on. So again, all the physical tools in the world. I like watching him play. Like I said, I think he plays with a certain flair and a certain attitude, and I love that. He plays with emotion. You need that out of your catcher. He also is going to a city where he has absolutely enormous shoes to fill. He is now the starting backstop after Yadi Molina was there for freaking ever. And was the heartbeat of that team for a long time. So I'm curious to see how he handles that as well. That's going to be something interesting to watch this year. That is a big shadow to play in.
Can I give you just a question, Bill?
Yeah.
When you watch it, you ever watch a good softball player that's on a pretty bad team?
Yeah.
Like as the season goes on, you can see his flame just like going down just a little bit each game. Is that fair?
I mean, I think that's fair, and I mean, it's definitely magnified over the course of a 162 game season in baseball. I mean, that's a grind.
When you play for the Chicago Cubs and you're the only All-Star and you didn't have a good season by your own admission, it's a grind, right? Like it's a grind. You're playing for a crappy team. Now he's going to go over to St. Louis, which is considered baseball heaven, and batting a lineup with Nolan Arenado and Goldie. Wilson Contreras could be 5. Alejandro Kirk's been incredible, right? Like he's gotten better all 3 seasons he's been in the major leagues. He's young. His batting average improved by 40 points last year. Alejandro Kirk is well deserving to be on this list also. Definitely a very reputable 5. I think that he'll once again have another good year. I think he'll get better and better, and he's in a really good spot. But I wouldn't be shocked if Wilson Contreras finished above Alejandro Kirk. I wouldn't.
No, I mean, this was, we're going to get into them in a second. The top 4 for me was very easy, just depending upon which order I want to put 2 of them in. And then I went back and forth with Kirk and Contreras for a while, especially with Kirk going to be in a timeshare, which I talked about earlier with Danny Jansen. But I put him up there. Again, I think he's on. I think we know what Contreras' peak looks like. And again, I to Gene's point, I think he has. If he was ever going to put up monster numbers, this is the year to do it.
Right.
He's going to see pitches to hit this year. Bat behind those 2 guys. Reigning MVP and Nolan Arenado, who's well on his way to the Hall of Fame already. I think I just gave the nod to Kirk. I think he's maybe not as flashy, but I think he's more consistent and he's solid defensively, and he's going to hit for a higher average. I just like him. I trust him more in the box than I do Contreras. Sorry. Could Contreras, turn around and hit a 400-foot bomb? Yeah, he can. He's done it numerous times. He's done it in a lot of big stages. Contreras will also give you a bunch of 0 for 4 4K games too. I just went with Kirk strictly. That's what it boiled down to for me. It was strictly just a consistency thing for me.
Can we start calling the Oakland A's like the minor leagues of the Atlanta Braves organization?
I mean, starting to look that way. I think that's I mean, listen, that's going to change soon, I think, when they move. So once they start having revenue, could be interesting.
Yeah, they'll probably. I mean, of course, have they officially decided where they're going to go?
It's going to be decided this year. The lease, I believe, for the Coliseum is officially dead after 2025. Oakland
everyone thinks Vegas, though, right? Like that's
it makes sense. If they can't raise enough money privately to build the stadium they want to build in Oakland and stay there, I don't see how Vegas isn't the landing spot for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, tell us about your former Oakland A, Ketrell.
I got Sean Murphy here. Obviously, you guys value Sean Murphy a little bit more, and this isn't a knock on him. If you're in the top 5, you're a hell of a player. Sean Murphy's got a Gold Glove under his belt already, and he's been freed of the shackles of the Oakland A's, and he's going over to a team that knows how to win championship in the Atlanta Braves. I think it'll be a great move over for him. Obviously, great young player. I fully expect him to go over there and be special. We talked a little bit off camera about their previous catcher. Travis is going to be full-time, basically DH for him now. But yeah, I fully expect Sean Murphy to go over and be the force that he was in Oakland. And then my number 4, Alejandro Kirk. You guys have already mentioned a lot about him. I feel like the time split between him and Jansen is actually going to be somewhat good for him. Days that he only has to hit for a guy who can hit like Kirk, especially in that Blue Jays lineup. Like, I think his numbers are going to benefit a lot from it. So I think Kirk's going to have one of those special years, and we're going to see him be an all-star yet again.
I got Sean Murphy number 4. Cottrell already mentioned the one accolade, Gold Glove winner already. And I think you have to go back to the conversation, we just had about Wilson Contreras. He played on a really bad Oakland team for a really long time. He is now going to debatably one of the top 3 or 4 deepest lineups in the game. His average is going to go up, and his production numbers are absolutely going to go up. He's going to come up on base with more people on base a lot more often now than it was before. His RBI should go up. His run should go up. I think Sean Murphy has a monster year. He's going to go to a team that's going to contend for the playoffs, if not the World Series. And again, you're going to see that fire. It's easy to play somewhere like Oakland and be good and not stand out and get your recognition. But when you go to somewhere like Atlanta, there's also pressure internally from the team when you're playing on a stacked team like that. You have to pull your own weight, and that really makes guys play harder and motivates people. I think Sean Murphy has a monster year. I could tell you honestly, I almost had him 3. I really did, but I stuck with him at 4. But he's really good, man. He's really good.
I'm with you. I almost had him 3 too. I mean, I think we put Will Smith at the 3 spot just because he's a Los Angeles Dodger.
Yeah,
like that lineup is loaded, and he's going to get his offensive numbers. Sean Murphy is going to be great, and Atlanta, if anything, they're amazing at scouting. I feel like they just take a 25-year-old stud from Oakland once a year, and they're just like, oh, it's just going to take you now. You've been developed. You're now chosen. Like, I don't understand. Like, how many years until we're talking about Matt Olson being better than Freddie Freeman? What, next year? 2 years from now? It's close, and he's younger. He's better defensively already.
Defensively is close. He's never going to be. He definitely has the ability to put up better power numbers than Freddie.
Yeah.
As an overall hitter, though, he's never going to hit 330. He like that.
No. But my point being is, how many years until Freddie declines a little bit to the point where Olson passes him?
Yeah, and I mean, like, probably 2 or 3, 3 or 4.
It's almost like they literally just go, okay, we're just going to take this young budding star from the Oakland A's and put him on our franchise. Oh, Atlanta's got the most loaded roster, top to bottom, throughout their rotation, throughout their lineup, all young, all under contract. They're going to be great for a long time. Sean Murphy, you already mentioned his Gold Glove. The guy's incredible defensively, a good hitter. Will Smith's there because he's a Dodger. I hate to say this. We don't take anything away from Will Smith. Average to subpar defending catcher. And to add on top of Will Smith's a good hitter, right? He's going to bat 7th or 8th in that Dodgers lineup. He's going to rack up 100 RBIs because there's going to be 100 people in front of him. And statistically, I think he has a better year than Sean Murphy. If you swap those two, I don't know if Sean Murphy doesn't have a better year in LA than Will Smith does. So I'll go Murphy 4, Will Smith 3, but
I mean, to your point though, I think there's a few guys, if you put them in LA's line, like I think if you put Wilson Contreras in LA's lineup, like I think his numbers would be insane too. Like there's a few guys that outside of just Murphy. But I do agree with you though.
I made that same point about Will Smith last year. I think he benefits greatly. He's higher up on some of these lists because of where he plays.
Yeah.
And I think if you're being honest, if we're all being honest across the board here, I think we're looking at the same big jump from Murphy because of where he's going, and it's what Will Smith's played in his whole career. I can't tell you, and if you push me, if I had to pick one, I'm picking Sean Murphy. If I had to pick one from my team, I'll be 100% honest with you. He's worlds better defensively than Will Smith is. But it's also one of those things, and I've said it numerous times with all these lists having to be football, baseball, whatever, you got to prove it. So until Murphy can go out and put up better numbers than Will Smith, and he will have every opportunity in the world to do that. He's one step below him. Will I be surprised at all next year when we do this list if he's number 3? Not at all.
Number 3, Control.
A guy we were just talking about, Will Smith. I mean, not really much more I need to say. He's on a loaded Dodgers team. We saw what he did last year. I think it was 25 homers and close to 90 RBIs. Like, I fully expect him to hit 20 plus again. He'll probably have 100 RBIs this year. Dodgers are loaded, and Will Smith is going to be a beneficiary of it. So I fully expect him to have a top 3 season this year. My number 2 guy who you guys love, JT Realmuto. I know PD wasn't happy. Bill's shaking his head. He's not too happy about it. He's coming off of a phenomenal season. Got a Gold Glove, Silver Slugger. And this is no slight. Like, him being that too, it's no slight to him. I think he's going to be incredible. He's going to be in an incredible lineup. He's going to hit great again. Obviously, we know what he does defensively. But for me, it's not about what his deficiencies are, why he's number 2. It's just the projection I have for the guy that I have number 1 is just so high. But JT Realmuto, I 100% wouldn't be surprised if he ended up 1 here, but he's 2 on my list.
2, I have Adley Rutschman from Baltimore. The kid's great. The kid will be the best catcher in baseball for the next probably 8 or 9 years, maybe as soon as after this year. I talked about advanced scouting earlier. That will catch up with him a little bit this year. He's a great hitter. He's great defensively, especially has a great feel for the position at such a young age, which is rare. It is not a common thing. Most catchers get to the major leagues earlier because they hit well, and they have to really learn, the play calling and the pitch calling and the defensive part of the game. He does not need that. He has a great natural feel for the game. I think he's great. There's nothing bad to say about him. He's just not on JT's level yet. And until he does that for a full year and it shows that to me, he's going to remain number 2. I think if he stays healthy, that Baltimore team is going to be sneaky good this year. I think Baltimore probably makes the playoffs in 2024. They have a lot of really good young talent coming up. He's going to be the absolute leader and centerpiece of that organization for a long time. He's just not number 1 yet. He stays at number 2 for me this year.
I mean, to me, it's number 1 and number 2 are the 2 best in baseball, and I don't think it's that close. I think the gap between 2 and 3 is huge.
Agreed.
I have JT2, and by no fault of him, I think that just 30-year-old catcher, you're getting to that age. You could almost see some of the regression from JT in the beginning of last year, and then he gets his legs ready, he gets in series, and then in the playoffs he was unbelievable. So I don't want to hate on JT at all. JT's great. It's just the jumps that Adley Rutschman have taken over the last 3 years from being the best college player in the world to, no doubt about it, number 1 overall pick, to being all worldly in minor league baseball, to almost willing the Baltimore Orioles to make the playoffs last year. The jumps that he has made has been incredible. And there's nothing against JT here. It's just you have a young phenom ready to take the spot, and I project this is the year where we're talking about Adley Rutschman as the best catcher in baseball with JT Realmuto. I think JT is still slightly better defensively than Adley is right now. JT's the best defensive catcher. His arm is elite. But Adley Rutschman's no slouch. You're talking about a guy that gets behind the plate, calls a great game, has a cannon for an arm, is athletic, he moves, he blocks more balls than any catcher in baseball. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. And I think that JT and Adley right now are interchangeable. Right now, I'd give the edge to Adley for projecting for 2023, but not by much.
I'm sticking with JT. I think you saw his second half, and like Gene mentioned, the playoffs. I think you saw the normal JT. He is only 30 years old. You need to stop acting like he's 35 and he's on the back leg of his career. He's 30. I don't think he starts the season this year as a slump. Everybody also forgets JT is a guy that naturally likes to play his way into the season. We also did very short straight spring training last year. Um, so they're gonna have full camp this year. Plus he's gonna play in the WBC, so which we'll be talking about in a couple weeks, which is gonna be absolute insanity this year, by the way. I cannot wait to talk about that. But um, I think you're gonna see JT start the year on fire right where he left off last year. To Gene's point, defensively, they are both top three catchers. Not JT already. Both have elite arms. Both block the ball extremely well. JT is regarded, around baseball as the best framer of a pitch. Um, I think the difference with them is still in hitting. I think JT is a proven 280 guy, 25 home runs, 80 to 100 RBIs, which could go up this year because I think he's have a little more opportunity until Bryce gets back. Adley is not that he can't be there, not that he won't even be there this year, just hasn't done it yet for me. So until it's one of those things, man. You have a legend, and you have a legend in the making behind him, and until somebody knocks the legend off the top of the mountain, then he stays there. Could be this year, could be next year. I mean, it's coming soon. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's this year. So JT stays number one for me.
And then my number one is Adley Rutschman as well. This is a guy who I had on my top tens list last year. I thought he would get called up early last year, and he did. It was, I believe, the end of May, early June when he got called up, and he had a good season. I fully expect him to take that leap this year. Obviously, not obviously, but I'm not one who watches college baseball. But Adley Rutschman was a name that, when I heard it, I knew that the way that people talked about him, at least, that he was a guy that you need to follow, and you need to see this kid play. And so, like, seeing him go through the minors and things like that, like I fully expect him to take that leap this year. I think it was great for the Orioles to call him up last year and get him as much playing time as he did, because I think now he's going to be fully ready to take on this season and be the best catcher in baseball.
So to Joseph Jeffers' point, Nashville wants an MLB team. They do. The problem is going to be is they're not going to move Oakland from Oakland to Nashville. So the for lack of the plan they want to do, if they do it that way, is they would give Nashville an expansion team, and they would stay in one of the Eastern divisions, and then Oakland would probably move to LA to Las Vegas, excuse me, and that would keep the balance of the league. I highly doubt they're going to move Oakland all the way across the country. I don't think it's going to happen.
If it was up to me, sell Cincinnati's team to Nashville.
So you talked about defensive run saved for Jose Trevino, right? He was number one in baseball. He had 21 defensive runs saved last year. That's an absurd stat for a catcher, right?
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman in, I guess, 3/5 of a season, 60% of a season, had 18. He was number two in baseball in defensive runs saved. Now, JT, on the other hand, 44% caught stealing percentage. Do you know how absurd that is?
That's nuts.
Like, I'm not kidding with you. Like, I'll read off the rest of the top 20 just for fun. Not that long.
Just to put it in perspective before you go, most of the guys in the Hall of Fame,
30, 24.
They're mid 30s, and those guys are considered elite. He's 10% higher.
I was gonna say we had Perez in Cleveland a few years ago, was at like 31%, and it was insane. 44% is nuts.
34% was this number two in baseball last year, which was Salvatore Perez. Adley Rutschman was at 31%, which is pretty good. Will Smith was at a staggering 18%. Guy's a defensive juggernaut. I'm kidding, but Salvatore Perez also had one of the lowest defensive run saves you'll ever watch, -4. Like, that's so bad for a catcher that pride themselves on defense.
It's not good.
So bad. But Trevino was one defensively. He was a stud. Interesting list. I just don't think you can argue. Like PD's like, you guys are insane, terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I really don't. Like you can make arguments on, I don't know.
And it is, and once again, though, it is projections list. So saying that the guy who came in at how is Adley? 22, 23?
He's probably either or. I mean, I think he stayed in college for 3, if not 4. So yeah, he's right around there.
So a kid who already took the strides last year, and now he's going to have a full year under his belt. Like to me, it's not crazy to think that he could be the best catcher in baseball.
Let's see.
I agree with you. All right, so gentlemen.
He's 25.
Okay.
Who is
Adley? Yeah, so you figure
JT's 31.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I think he actually stayed all 4 years at Oregon State. So you're 22, graduating. Yeah, 2 years in the minors, and he was up. So
guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Why I got people listening, I kind of want to throw something up there. We have new merch that's on sale. Appreciate the couple buyers already. We got 4 different colors. We got the gray and black, the blue and gray, like blue and silverish, the white and silver, and the black, which is backed by popular demand. Blue and gray are our new colors. Black and white are our originals, but we got the new logo on there. You got the faces. Listen, if you want to pay to have Shally's face on your sleeve, this is the time to do it.
Sign up, folks.
The Venmo is listed on the page, just Venmo, and we were putting our first order in 2 days. So we will be getting a bunch of stuff out there. All the contest winners, you'll be getting your merch soon. And yeah, you can go through. This is the t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt. The hoodies are 50, the long sleeve tees are 40, and the shirts are 30.
And then we got one last one here in the blue.
That's Bill. That's Cottrell's favorite is the new blue.
I'm waiting on blue.
Blue's hot. It looks really good with the dry fit material too. I can't wait to wear that on a softball game. All right, so we got NCAA, we got bracketology, bracket madness. I can't wait to get into Joe Lunardi's bracketology now. We did this last year when we were talking about what matchups we could look at. Like I have awful eyes, so I can barely see this, but that's okay.
Anybody can see it.
This
I
is
can't. My eyeballs work.
This is the projections right now. Obviously, a lot can happen with conference tournaments, but your projected 1 seeds are Houston, Kansas, Alabama, and Purdue. I don't know. I guess, man, is Kansas the only 1 seed that you can see winning the national championship?
It's funny you said that because I didn't know we were, exactly what we were doing with this topic, and that was one of the questions I actually had for both of you. I feel like here's what I'll say. I've watched them a couple times now. I feel like I know what I'm getting from Kansas every time I watch them. And the other 3, I think I've seen games where they've looked great, and then I just watched Purdue lose almost 3 in a row to 2. The 2 teams were not great teams. Alabama's got some crazy off the court and behind the scenes stuff going on, but when they're clicking, they can outscore anybody. And then Houston, I love, and they play old school basketball, but they really struggle. I needed, for me anyway, like this is one of the things I look at, like when I pick college games for the tournament, I want a team that comfortably gets to like the mid 60s, high 60s, low 70s in points. And Houston doesn't do that for me. I've watched them too many times the last 2 years play great defense but struggle to score 58. And that's meeting one hot team in a tournament, away from. And they remind me they're kind of like a more athletic, like the old Virginia teams from a couple years ago. Same mentality, same like dogfight type defense, but they just struggle to score. I would love to see a team like that win it, but it's hard to have a lot of confidence in them.
To be fair, they haven't scored below 70 points since their loss versus Temple, which happened a month ago at this point. They've gotten over 70 points almost every game, but their conference is not.
Awful.
I wouldn't say awful. They do play, but Cincinnati, Tulsa, UCF. It's not great, but it's not like we're not playing Gonzaga's schedule. This isn't Gonzaga's conference.
All right, but it's probably like only a step or two above that, though. Yeah, I mean, it ain't the Big 12. It's not the ACC or the Big 10.
I think to Bill's point though, like worrying about Houston. Obviously, they're a great defensive team. The problem there is their physicality. Like I think if they get in a situation like a tournament game, and I can see them if they get in foul trouble, like I could see that severely hurting them. Obviously, any team getting in foul trouble, it's going to hurt them in the tournament. But I think with a team like Houston that plays as aggressive as they do, I think
need one bad night. Bad night.
Correct.
We had the same exact conversation about them last year.
Exactly.
Same exact conversation.
And the fact that like Houston, like we talk about, it's been a while since they've had not scored under 70 points. I think it's possible for them in a tournament setting if this is a team that gets in foul trouble. Like they're a lot with rhythm. Like they get a lot of points off turnovers and things like that. Like I think that could severely hurt them in a tournament setting. You talk about Kansas being the only 1 seed that could win the national championship. I actually don't think that Kansas will be able to do it either, because I think by the time the NCAA tournament starts this year, and I truly think this field is wide open, but Kansas is in the I would say the best conference in college basketball this year right now, and that's the Big 12.
Yep.
And Kansas is going to be getting beat up over there. Like that Big 12 tournament is going to be a dogfight. And I think obviously, you get if they lock up that 1 seat, they'll have a bye week, basically the first game.
Should you argue the SEC is a better conference though this year?
No, I wouldn't.
I could.
I would not. How could you? I mean, I think you have
Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. Do I need to say anything else?
Kentucky's in a tournament right now.
No, they're in the tournament, but Kentucky's having a down year. Yeah, Tennessee, like I'm with you there, but Alabama, like who knows what's about to happen with Alabama? Like that's the wild card.
That doesn't take away from their conference.
That's three teams though. You probably have like 8 or 9 teams getting into the tournament from the Big 12.
I was gonna say I'll go top 3 for them, Gene. Like I think they can go toe to toe with anybody. The Big 12's depth though is just insanity this year. I mean, I think they have 6 or 7 teams ranked right now. The drop off you're going to have in the SEC after the 3. Okay, you go Kentucky, which isn't a normal Kentucky team, but then like the Big 12, like you still have TCU, Kansas State, Texas, Baylor, all them down there.
Kansas State.
Yeah, it's murderer's row this year, man. I think it's the best conference by far this year. ACC has a down year, and honestly, the Big 10 is too. So, I think it's the Big 12, and I don't think it's necessarily too close.
Okay. I just when I look at a conference, I look at teams that can win the national.
That's fair. I get it.
Like, I get that you guys like. I don't think anybody here thinks Kansas State's going to win the national championship.
No, but I think me and Control are talking about
Kentucky
it.
Is either.
Yeah,
I think Kentucky can get hot. I think Kentucky has the dogs that can do it.
On paper, they do. They have and Calipari has done it numerous times where they get in the SEC tournament and they flip the switch and it's a different team. But that team has shown me none of that yet. And
I think in the Big 12 can have 8 teams. If we're being honest, you said 6 or 7. I think the Big 12 can have eight teams. I really believe that when I look at it.
I mean,
I think I was just going to say, just my last point with it. Like for me personally, and I think this is what Cottrell's saying too. When I say it's a better league and it's deeper, I think the team you're playing on an average night is way, way better than the Big 12.
You're right.
There's no Vanderbilts, there's no LSU's and Ole Misses this year in the Big 12. That's all it is. I think the average day in, day out battle you're getting in the Big 12 this year is a very good game.
And I think about A&M too. A&M's a very good team.
And even if you want to paint it as the top top three. Like I take my chances with Kansas, Texas, and Baylor, as opposed to like I'll take my chances with those three. One of them win a national championship over Bama, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Like I would be okay with my chances there.
See, Coach, you bring up the Georgia loss, but you forget to mention the Tennessee win. Like, I get what you're saying that the Kentucky had a bad Georgia loss. They did, but they also had a huge Tennessee
We
win.
beat Tennessee at home last week. Yep.
Like, it's not like I get what you're saying, but when you get to the tournament, it's the team that gets hot at the right time.
That's
and
true.
like we could talk about Kentucky not being that good, but when they beat a Tennessee team that was running through, that just beat Alabama, you know what I mean? That was running through the SEC at one point. And I don't know. I think that Kentucky team has a lot of. They got a lottery pick. They still got Oscar Chiabwe. I think they could be good, bro. I really do.
I mean, I think they can too. And it wasn't like I wasn't taking a shot at Kentucky there.
No. I was just responding to him saying Kentucky's not that good this year. They lost to a terrible Georgia team, which they did. Georgia got beat by like 40 by Tennessee.
If I'm being real, I think Kentucky, like, if they get an 8 seed, I think that's the region I think they would want to be in. I would want to be in Purdue's region.
Oh
like,
my God! Looking at this, the East is murderer's row.
Yeah, like
Kentucky is an 8, Purdue is a 1. You got Duke shouldn't be on, but Tennessee, Baylor, it's absurd. West Virginia can beat anybody. He's right. West Virginia can beat anybody, and they're 12. That's a dangerous 12. That's a 12-5 upset I would pick tomorrow.
Yeah, and if it came down to it right now, like I would seriously consider picking Kentucky over Purdue in that second round matchup there.
I think Chiabwe would bully Edie.
Yeah, same.
I mean, you got a lot of really good games in that region. My only thing with West Virginia, as it always is they are one team at home and they're a completely different team when they play away.
You're absolutely
correct. Providence is a 17 is bonkers, dude, because Providence is a good little team. UConn's a scary 5, and you got Tennessee sitting there at the 3. I mean, that is, and then Oklahoma State, Duke. I'll tell you right now, Oklahoma State could beat Duke. If
we were looking at this now, I want you to look at it, and I know I'm asking you guys to just spit 2 names out, but I want you to give me 2 names that make it to the Elite 8 in each conference. Just looking at them, right? Just looking at these, and this is gonna sound so like I'm speaking to my own argument, but my Elite 8 in the East would be Tennessee versus Kentucky. It really would. I'm not like, this is not me doing the Gene thing where I'm speaking but my Elite 8 in the East would be Tennessee, Kentucky.
I'll go Tennessee, UConn.
See, I would go Baylor and Kentucky.
Okay. Baylor and Kentucky.
I would take Baylor and Kentucky. Okay. And I'm actually more down on Baylor this year. Obviously, they've had their ups and downs this season, but I think the way that this if the bracket were to play out like this, I would like Baylor's matchups going throughout.
Okay, give me the South. Give me your Elite 8 in the South.
Okay, so
I'm going UCLA, and I'm assuming everything stays status quo with Bama. I actually think the South has a good chance to go chalk. I'll go Bama, UCLA.
I would also go UCLA and Bama, assuming everything stays, as Shiley said, status quo. The one team I would look out for, though, would be Indiana.
Okay, they're like West. It's funny you said that, because I was just gonna say I think they're. Where is that? Does that say where that region is?
That's in
no. This is all New York. Forget where it's at.
Well, no, because it matters. Because if it was somewhere that was relatively close, where those fans would travel well or get there, like they'd have a decidedly home court advantage. I think it matters. I think Indiana's a lot like West Virginia for me. Like you play them in Assembly Hall, like Purdue went the other day, got smacked. You play them Assembly Hall in Bloomington. I think it's a way different story than playing them on a neutral court somewhere.
You ready for me to get nuts on you guys?
I mean, I hear you, but I think Indiana just they have one of the best players in the country. Like you have one of those guys. Like
for you, Indiana is not making it out of opening weekend in that little foursome. I got Creighton versus UCLA in the Elite Eight.
Creighton's gonna have a tough time with that 12 seeds they got.
I knew you were gonna go there.
He ain't wrong though, man.
The Golden Flashes are legit.
They are. This year is one of the best teams I've ever seen, and they made the tournament a few years back.
Yeah, I get it, what you're saying. I just think Creighton's a sneaky team that can go
State,
far in
honestly,
the tournament.
Kent State shouldn't be a 12 seed. Honestly,
I agree.
That's blasphemy. They should be like a 10.
Yeah, I agree with you. But if you're Kent State, wouldn't you rather be a 12 seed than a 10? Why do you want to play UCLA opening weekend?
Facts.
Like I'd rather be a 12 seed.
Yeah.
I think of all the teams that are in the 5 line right now, I think Creighton is the one who I least want to see.
All right, so my Elite Eight for the South
UConn.
is Creighton versus UCLA.
UConn for me.
Okay. All right, Midwest. Give me your Elite Eight for the Midwest.
Definitely Texas. I've been high on Texas all year.
You have.
I hate that they're going to probably play Michigan State second game though.
Yo, this bracket stinks.
I would go
so bad.
I'd go crazy here.
You gonna go A&M?
No, give me Drake and Michigan State.
This bracket stinks.
I'm going chalk here too. I'm going Texas, Houston. I mean, Houston's not going to play.
Marquette before.
A&M could. You know what? Yeah. I would go A&M and Michigan State. Actually, A&M Michigan State.
I talked into it.
You did.
I'll go Houston, Texas.
I think you get it.
Michigan State.
Yes, I do have Michigan State.
You're a crazy person,
bro. The thing is that like, especially in a situation like this, like if it were to shake out like this is literally what Tom Izzo's like made for. Like a situation where Texas loses their head coach during the season, like they have an interim guy in there. They've been playing well since he's been gone.
Since he's been gone.
No. Don't get me wrong. They 100% have, but we know everything changes in the tournament. Tom Izzo will put together a game plan, and I would love to see how a coach, responds to what Izzo was doing in the tournament. Like we've seen so many times Izzo's teams.
But here's the thing: when's the last time it's really happened?
What do you mean? Izzo took out Zion, Cam Reddish, and
that dude
RJ Barrett.
Stunk.
But that team was they were beating everybody that year.
When's the last time Michigan State won a national championship?
I mean, it's definitely been a while. Like, don't get me wrong.
Listen, I think he's a great coach. Like, so I'm not getting exactly. That's it. That's my whole point. Like,
oh man,
it's like we hear the same thing every year, but then like there's years they lose the first game or the second game and go home, and then the next year we get the same thing. Like, oh, nobody wants to see Tom Izzo when like the teams have been mediocre for the last 4 or 5 years.
But you even
won a Big Ten. Like
you even said it though. You were like, I hate that Texas would have to see Michigan State the second round. Why do you say that? Because Tom Izzo can have those guys ready to go.
I think
talent wise too. Like I would. I think talent wise too. Like I've seen Michigan State. Not saying that I haven't seen Texas go up against these top teams, but I think I've seen Michigan State play some of their best ball. I think Tom Izzo would have them ready to go in the tournament.
By the way, I'm looking at the West, and I don't think the West is that good either.
West might be the worst. It's got a bunch of like middle of the pack, like Big Ten.
I'll tell you right now, watch out for Oral Roberts.
Facts.
Watch out for Oral Roberts.
Cottrell tell you all about Oral Roberts.
If I'm looking at the West, you're gonna laugh at me. I think this is me like wishful thinking, but that's okay. Give me oh man, I don't want to do this. Give me Arkansas versus Maryland.
It's funny. I literally just almost picked Maryland because they're playing real well right now. I'm going Kansas though, and I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Give me Kansas and an all Big 12 Elite 8 with Iowa State.
Okay.
I would take Kansas, although I think Arkansas
No, son.
Would be a scary team, especially if name slips my mind right now, but they got a kid who's going to be a lottery pick, supposedly coming back before the tournament starts. I think they could be a sneaky good 9 seed there. Don't love Kansas, like I said before. Like I think they're going to be beat up going into the tournament. But in this region as is, I would take Kansas to come out to the Elite Eight. And I tend to agree with Shally going with Iowa State, but I would not be surprised at all if Oral Roberts was the one to make it to the Elite Eight.
I'm with you.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Sure.
Fact that none of us are going to have a horse in this race this year.
Oh, I know. No Nova, no Ohio State, no Michigan.
Nada.
No UNC right now.
No. That's
correct.
That's the biggest flop of them all.
Bro, this is a wild field. And I think it makes it more entertaining, right? Like, I don't mean to be smart when I say this. I know you guys all want dogs in the race. I want Villanova. You want Michigan. Control wants Ohio State. I get that. But, like, this field is wild. You can see an 11 seed win the whole damn tournament.
It's wild, and I like it because there's too many tournaments where, like, okay, like, half the games could go the other way, but then, like, like, half the other teams, like, are going to be there, come Sweet 16. I don't think you could say that this year. Like, I think, again, we already talked about the ones. I mean, I could see one of them not making it to the Sweet 16 easily.
Don't take this the wrong way, and this is going to sound really stupid and really outlandish and out there. I could see Purdue losing to Morehead State. I'm not kidding with you.
No,
see, that's crazy.
I think Purdue is the worst 1 seed of our.
They are, but they're not losing.
All right, Kentucky.
No, they're definitely like not they're not a number 1 seed. Like, Zach Edey's can only take you so far. Like, I get it. He's having an incredible season. Not
even good. He's just tall.
He's having a great season. Like, I don't want to take away from him because he's tall. Like, he's having a great season. And where he was at 3 years ago versus where he's at now, it's miles ahead of each other. So, like, I don't want to take that away from the kid because he's shown so much improvement. Because, I mean, he's been 7'4" since he got in college. Is that now he knows how to work the 7'4". But yeah, I'm with you though. Purdue's not gonna. They don't scare me as a 1 seed at all.
Honestly, I could see them get knocked out early in the Big Ten championship too, and they might not even be a 1. And then I think they're in a lot of trouble. I think they need to be a 1 to have a decent.
Thanks.
That's also what I was going to get into though. I don't think Ohio State has a snowball's chance in hell to win the Big Ten, but I think Michigan has a chance to win the Big Ten. Like, it's not high, but they got a chance to. Like, when you got a guy like Hunter Dickinson, like, they're like you got a shot to. And I think Nova, as bad as they've been this year, they've beaten Xavier team already, this season. They beat
Xavier last night away.
Yeah. So, like, I think Nova has a shot too. Obviously, it's a small chance. Like, they're so far behind in the conference and all that.
Justin Moore's starting to look good again. That's the whole problem. Right?
Out of the 3 of them, it's Nova by far that has a chance to go into the tournament, to go into their conference tournament and win it.
Absolutely.
And it's really, I mean,
but I'd feel so much better if it was Jay Wright on that sideline.
Yeah,
of course.
I hear you, brother.
I mean, of course.
If Jay Wright's on that sideline, they're not 14-14 either.
Cam Whitmore, and Justin Moore can take that team on a run. I believe that, but I would feel so much better if it was a Jay Wright coach team.
No, I mean, I 100% agree with you. And then, Bill, I will say too, I don't think Michigan talent-wise is like up there this year. Like, obviously it's a down year for them, but I think in a situation where if Purdue somehow, some way gets knocked out early or before Michigan has to see them, like we just saw Michigan take care of a Michigan State team. Like, Michigan can play with some of the better teams in that conference. Like, Ohio State just stinks this year. Like, I don't know what's going on. So that's why I'm not throwing them in there. But like, Michigan can play up to the level of competition.
They can. The problem is we just played down the teams too. I mean, I'll be honest, man. I think talent-wise, it's not the most talented team Juwan's had. This is the year he's had to coach the most. And for me, he's been a little lackluster this year. I think he took way too long to figure out his rotations. I think he plays to his sons a little bit too much. But again, I mean, they're good enough to do it. They would need a couple breaks to go their way, and with it being on a neutral court, who the hell knows? But I think there's too many teams in the Big Ten that are playing well. I mean, Michigan State was until the other day with that hiccup, and then Northwestern and Maryland have been playing great. So they're the two dark horses for me.
I got news for you too, and this is going to sound real genish. There's no doubt in my mind that I think Purdue loses to Kentucky, but if they don't lose to Kentucky, I'm almost sure Gonzaga beats them. And Gonzaga, we can say whatever we want to say about Gonzaga, but they still have Rasir Bolton. They still have Drew Timme. They still have a team of players that have played in the tournament and have been there before. Yeah, they're not going to win it, right? They don't have the elite guard play that you got last year with Jaden Ivey. You're not getting that this year, right? But Chris Hart, Timme, and Rasir Bolton are enough to win versus Purdue. I believe it.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but again, I think Gonzaga.
Jesus Christ.
I think Gonzaga is a team that they also play down to their level of competition sometimes. So I could see them getting into a scare with like a team like UConn or West Virginia in that second round matchup. Not saying I would expect them to lose that, but this, like you said, this isn't a Gonzaga team that we're used to seeing. Like Drew Timme can only take them so far.
Whenever you need a basket, he can get you one.
This is their worst team in the last 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's relatively close.
But you know what the difference is? They can still play offense. They just can't play any defense.
They can. I've watched them twice this year, and I watched them when they played St. Mary's and they lost. I mean, it is obviously not having Jaden Ivey is an enormous loss. Timmy still being there is great. They're just not. I feel like they're a year away. Like I feel like obviously they're going to lose Timmy after this season. I think they'll be better next year than they are this year.
I don't know how they get better next year, though. Julian Strawler is going to go to the draft. I don't think there's no way he stays. Rasir Bolton leaves. Timmy leaves. They lose their whole starting lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing a lot of kids right now, though.
They are. They play 9 kids. They play 9 deep. Most teams play 7 or 8. I get it. All right, gentlemen. That's what we got. This will be a staple in our conversations for the next 6 weeks.
Well, yeah, because it's gonna change damn near. Like we'll put this up next week and it'll be different.
Facts. And I will say too, before we switch over to You Gotta Be Kidding Me, there's 2 teams that aren't here that I think absolutely could not only, like, if they win their conference, like I think they could steal a game in the first round of the tournament, and that's College of Charleston and Furman.
I knew you were gonna say Charleston.
Charleston and Furman. Like I fully think, like if they go out and win their conference, like they'll come in and be somewhere between 12 and 14 seed. Like they're going to give teams a scare in that first round, and I think that they could win depending on who they get matched up with. They can win a first round, maybe even a second round game in the tournament.
Both teams have very good guards too that can shoot. They will most likely put somebody's heart in the first round.
I will look forward to the first round matchups. I'll be watching them on a cruise ship. I'm away for the first week of the tournament, which sucks, but whatever.
It's one of my favorite days of the year, man. Those 2 days.
It is, but I got to go on vacation sometime, bro.
I hear you, brother. I'm way over here.
I would definitely be taking off that Thursday, going somewhere and watching all the games. You guys started that. That was the first time when I was up there. That was the first time that I've actually like been off and watched all the games all day. And so now I'm going to do it every year. So I appreciate it.
It was good. It was good till the end,
Let's get it. Yeah. Let's get in. You got to be kidding me.
We'll get Gene started again.
It is what it is. That guy's gone. I like the bartender that you're friends with. So
that guy is gone.
Oh, your bartender's your friend?
I don't know. Will's there.
Oh yeah, I know that guy's gone.
That's right. You were
Meatballs.
there. Yeah, that's right. We were there for softball. I forgot.
So I got 2 this week. I'd prefer to go. I don't want to step on any toes this week.
I don't have one, so you can do one for me.
Okay, wonderful.
You want to go last? You said.
I mean, I was gonna say I'd prefer to because I don't want to take if you guys have one. Mine are kind of lumped together, so
Mine's simple. Mine is, and you won't screw mine up.
okay. All right, cool. So my you gotta be kidding me this week is in the large picture, it's cancel culture. In the smaller instance, it's 2 different scenarios that happen. So the first one being Tiger Woods and Justin Thomas, they do their little thing, on the golf course. Obviously these guys are great friends and all this. Um, there was a hole in their last tournament where Tiger drove the ball farther than what JT did. So during, while they're walking to their balls, Tiger doesn't say anything to him, does it very discreetly. He hands JT a tampon. It was absolutely hilarious. Like in the moment, no one caught it, but of course, in this day and age, there's cameras everywhere. Someone got a picture of it. I thought, no big deal, but of course, people see it. They post it on Twitter, and everyone's like, how could Tiger make such a distasteful gesture and things like that? I absolutely can't stand it. Tiger wasn't offending anyone by doing that. It was just a joke between him and his friend. I don't see how anyone could even be offended by that. And I don't mean to sound like insensitive about it and things like that, but I just fully don't understand how that could have offended someone in that moment. And then the other side of it was, I know the Super Bowl happened last week, and we've already talked about the Super Bowl at length and all that, but during the Super Bowl, they showed Damar Hamlin, and he was wearing a jacket. Afterwards, Damar Hamlin got a lot of criticism and flack about the jacket because of what was on it, and he put out this apology thing about, I didn't mean to offend anyone and things like that. Like, I would have had more thought into it, but I really don't think there's times where people do cross the line, and I understand there's people get offended by certain things, but I really don't feel like, especially now, these athletes need to have an answer for every single thing that they do. Like it's really starting to get ridiculous. And I wish we could just get back to something just being left in fun, or if I don't agree with something, fine, but let's not just try to make it this whole hoopla about nothing. So cancel culture this week for me.
On, you gotta be kidding me.
That was a good one to do for me because I agree with you.
Yo, I'll tell you this, and I don't mean to be offensive, but man, I don't understand how everything has to get taken out of context, out of fun, and he's saying he drives like a girl. And girls can do just as much. Like, shut up, man. Like, they're friends joking with each other. Shut up. Like, stop. You want to cancel somebody, cancel Karl Malone.
Not a good person.
How the NBA allowed him to be full part of that weekend just after everything that came out is just beyond me. So for this week, you got to be kidding me, is the NBA for not making any changes to the All-Star game, keeping the All-Star game as awful as it is. The NBA players for allowing it to be the way it is. I love that Mike Malone deserves like 10 a round of applause for calling out, like, I don't know how you can fix this game. This game is awful. It's the worst basketball game. It's tough to sit through. The NBA, every turn, just made the wrong decisions. They asked John Morant how he could be involved, and how would you get involved? $1 million. I'll do a dunk contest. Like, shut up, Ja. I love Ja. Shut up, man. Do it for your sport. Do it to draw new fans. Do it to get millions of people watching All-Star Weekend again. The NBA should just cancel All-Star Weekend. Just get rid of it. Sucks. It's almost as bad as the flag football show the NFL put on. All-star games have become less and less about the fans and more about, I need to stay healthy. This is a spectator sport. You don't have money if we don't watch it. I just feel like there's a lot of mistakes that are going on with these sports and all-star games. And I think the NBA, even having Karl Malone be a dunk contest judge, like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? I understand Carl's response to the question. Like, he doesn't want to talk about something that happened 50 years ago or 40 years ago or whatever it was. But, like, you were 20 and you impregnated a 13-year-old. That's a crime. You're lucky you're not in jail.
Facts.
It's just like, I don't. And then you just have that guy grading the dunk contest. We're just talking about cancel culture a minute ago. That's somebody you could have canceled. Yet the conversations about Tiger Woods' tampon. What? I don't know.
It's a great point.
For this reason, the NBA as a whole.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
And I think the NBA runs the best ship. I'm being serious about this. Between the NFL, the NBA, and MLB, I think the NBA is running the best overall ship. Between Rob Manfred destroying everything in baseball.
It's too early for that.
Roger Goodell saying that the referees are the best I've ever seen them. Like, come on, man.
I think your analogy earlier though was like so spot on. The more I think about it though, and I think the problem with the NBA is they're kind of getting into the NFL territory where they're worrying about growing and making more and more revenue, and they are. But like nobody's kind of like steering the ship now. And I feel like that's what happened to the NFL for a while. It's like, great, all these doing TV deals, that's great. Like it's all this, but like now we're getting too far away from like what the league really was and like used to be. And I think there's a happy medium somewhere. And I think your Fast and Furious thing, as stupid as it sounds, I think it was spot on. I think the first 4 or 5 you could argue were all like in the same spirit and, same kind of, same goals were met to make those movies. And then after that, it was just like, let's send a Fiero to space and see if these people watch it. And
that's like the point. It's like Madden, bro. It's like Madden.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Madden.
You know what? Don't even get me started on that.
I knew he saw it. That's what I was going to say. The statement they released yesterday. But that's what I mean. It was like, we're going to send Ludacris and Tyrese up to space in a Fiero in like a 1942 submarine outfit and bring them back and see what happens. And people are like, "Oh my God, did you see it?" And they're like, "Made $1 billion. Let's make another one." Like, and that's exactly where we're at. I feel like that's where we're at with the NBA. I'm not going to get into the Madden thing because I was actually shocked that neither one of you put that in the group chat when I saw it come out, because I know how much you guys. I am nowhere near, the avid Madden player that I used to be, but EA finally coming out and be like, "Yeah, the last 5 versions of this game we made have sucked. We're going to work on it."
It's a make or break year for us.
It's a make or break year. I mean, You know why they said that though? It's because if this game has as much of a down year as it does next year, 2K is probably going to come over and they're going to probably offer Madden or offer the league, a large sum of money that they probably won't be able to refuse.
I'll tell you the other reason Madden's going to be in trouble too is because when they release NCAA next year, I think everybody's going to buy that. I don't think anybody's going to buy Madden next year. I think everybody's just going to be.
I think you'll get the people that buy it for their franchise leagues and their connected franchises and the MUT people. But like in reality, if you're talking about the casual buyer of which one I'd rather buy, I'd rather play NCAA
all day.
And even now we're off on a tangent here, but I was just playing NCAA 06 a couple days ago, and the fact that I could have FCS schools, I could have HBCUs, like how do you have all this ability to put this in these games in 2006? But even in 2014, all I have is these just Division I programs, no AA, no HBCUs, nothing. It's crazy. EA, someone someone needs to go to EA's office and just let them know what's going on, because it's really getting out of hand.
They've become too big for their own good, and now they care too much about what they look like on paper. And as long as what they look like on paper looks good, they don't give a shit about the rest. And that's where we're at with EA.
Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in this week. We had a fun episode, very light episode, 2 hours on the dot.
A lot of fun.
Fun. We're going to continue these fun episodes. We're going to get together and talk about a new bracket, because we need a new bracket. We need a new bracket.
You want to shout the merch out again, Gene?
Yeah.
Merch
on the screen. Buy merch. It helps us. And we love you. And I think they look good. They're fly as hell. I wear this stuff everywhere. Look at this. Listen, I'll put it to you this way. The biggest buyer of merch will be me. That's all I wear.
This is
Why
true.
pay for other people? Like, I don't need to pay like Nautica or like Polo, Ralph Lauren, when I can just pay wire to wire.
Does Nautica still even make clothes?
I don't know, bro. I don't buy clothes, man. I'm the worst. I really do now. Wire to wire stuff everywhere.
Before we go, I gotta give a quick shout out to my buddy and always my boss too, one of my bosses. But Rich Tarr is actually doing color commentary tonight for ESPN Plus for the LaSalle game. So it's probably over by now. So I'm gonna go back and rewatch it. But I think we're gonna have him on. I think we're gonna have him on one of our college shows. He was on the 88 LaSalle team that went to the championship game on the NIT, which was when the NIT was still a bigger tournament back then, the March Madness. So I think we're gonna have him on, and he's working on a really, really big guest for us. So we'll see what happens there. But just to give him a shout out, and good job. It's a pretty big deal to go on ESPN. So
thank you guys for tuning in this week. Any final thoughts, Cottrell?
Nothing from me.
Great job, my boy Rich Tarr. Love Rich Tarr, even though you switched to T-Mobile. Don't think I didn't know you did that. No. But thank you guys for tuning in. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 124. We are signing out.